Hey there everybody, it's Lieutenant Mia back again with another video. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences at SERE. Sorry for the late update, sorry for not updating the channel in a while. Between IFT and SERE and everything else they've been having us do here for classing up and kind of running, like managing our logistics and all that, it's taken some time and I've just been busy, that's what I'm trying to say. So sorry for not updating the channel in a while. I'm going to try to not do that again and hopefully be more cognizant of getting content out to kind of document what we've been going through, because there's been a lot, and I always tell myself, hey, I'm going to record this, or tomorrow I'll record yesterday's thing, and they've just been stacking up with everything we've been going through, and we've been going through a lot. So I'm going to try to play catch up and make some videos to talk about how the classing up process has been, and just what to expect with moving forward after you've done your TDYs and training that they send you to. So again, like I said, this video is going to touch on SERE, my experiences with it, and just a disclaimer with that, this video is not going to touch on the classified components, and it's not going to go in depth with this is exactly what you'll do at SERE. It's more to reflect on my experiences, sort of just like the emotions I went through and my expectations, and if they were met or if they lined up with what I thought SERE was going to be like. So just a very general video discussing things like that, of that nature. I'm going to talk about some logistical stuff as well, dealing with the packing list and things like that that they give you here, and talk about that, but that's just a disclaimer I wanted to throw. The majority of SERE training is classified, so don't expect me to go into any of that territory. This is just a very general discussion about my thoughts and experiences that I had with SERE. So with that out of the way, let's just start with when I went. So I went in July, which is apparently a pretty good time to go, so I was thankful that I was allowed to go when the weather wasn't super crappy and there wasn't snow on the ground. Just a little side note, by the way, I busted out my new recording mic, so let me know if the audio quality has gotten better since my other videos. I'm trying to increase my production values. That's why I have these headphones around me, because I was going to test my voice out, so hopefully that's working. Let me know how it is, or if you have any suggestions for the videos. So anyway, enough about the videos. With SERE, let's talk about that. I went in July. I've heard from most people that spring and summer is the best time to go because you don't have to deal with the snow. There are cons with that as well, which I'll talk about when I get into discussing my experience in the field and things like that. But I went in July, so your experience may be different if you go in a different time, and this video may not pertain 100% to how it will be for you when you go, depending on when you go. So just take that with a grain of salt. So before I move into kind of telling my story and documenting how it was for me day one to the finish line, let's talk about this first real quick. So this is the SERE clothing and equipment list that they issue you at Pensacola to kind of help you pack and get you all the necessary items that you'll need for the field. And the list you're going to be looking at is the SV80 section over here. So SV80, all these items here. Let me just start off the get-go by saying that this list is almost unnecessary. I don't know why they put so much emphasis on all these items, because when I got there and when everyone else got there, they pretty much issue you everything you'll need for the field. Now, again, this is subject to change. I went in 2018, July of 2018, so it could be different when you go. But as of now, like, I didn't need to pack any of this stuff, and it kind of made me upset because I spent a good amount of money buying everything on this list, and then you get there and it turns out they just issue it to you. So I really wish the people that went before us told us that, and I don't know why they didn't, because a lot of the people that I saw at the student squadron who had been to SERE prior never told me, hey, you're not going to need any of this stuff. So a little salty there, but I'm trying to help you out. So that's worst case scenario. So let's just say you show up with none of these things. You shouldn't have to worry because they'll give it to you. And if they don't give it to you, they have a small shop over there that you can buy all of these items. The price might be a little bit higher, but you're not going to be screwed because they'll have the items there for purchase. But regardless, let's go down this list and talk about some of these things that I think would come in handy regardless just to pack them. So item number 1 is the medical records. Excuse me, sorry, I got something in my throat there. Medical records, that is important. Do make sure you pack those. Make sure you're current with all of your immunizations and all of the different, physicals that they'll have you do for SERE, and make sure you have the papers for that, because it's just going to save you some time when you get there. If you don't have them, they'll take care of you over there, but it's going to expedite things and give you more free time if you do have them. For example, they made us skip lunch to go do this on day 3, and if you have them, then hey, you get your lunchtime. So item number 2, blousing bands. You don't need those. For the majority of the time in the field, everyone was unbloused. If you're a blouser, like you don't want bugs or stuff crawling in your boots, which you shouldn't have, if you're moving anyway, then don't worry about it. You don't need them. Could take them if you want. Boots, here's a big one. So for the field portion of training, your boots that you wear don't have to be military issued boots. They don't have to be uniform regulation boots. Like you don't have to wear ABU, sage green, coyote if you're wearing OCPs, things like that. You can just wear regular hiking boots. So if you're a hiker and you have a pair of broken and worn in boots that you like to hike with, then you can just wear those. They can just literally be like civilian boots. So that's only in the field. You can't wear that around the base and stuff, obviously. But if you have a good pair of boots that you want to take, I would just make sure to go ahead and pack those, because it's going to be more comfortable for you. ABU cap or camouflage cap. In the field, again, you can wear any cap that you want, I'm pretty sure, as long as it has some sort of camouflage pattern, or if it's like sage green. I would recommend packing one. I kept mine off most of the time because it was really hot, but it's good to have one as a backup, just in case. So coveralls, flying, or ABUs. Here's a big one. It's a toss-up for a lot of people. I've seen some people go to the field wearing flight suits. I wouldn't do it because you can't unlayer as well. So if it's cold, you can layer up in ABUs, and if it's hot, you can take off your blouse and things like that. With the flight suit, you're kind of stuck with this whole one-piece onesie, and you can roll up the sleeves a little bit and unzip your chest, but it's not going to keep you as cool as ABUs. They're also not as durable. I saw a few people break their zippers and get caught on vines, and they do tear a bit easier than ABUs. So I wouldn't take them, especially if they get dirty. You probably can't wear them again. As far as I know, the people at SERE will issue you a memorandum to get a new pair replaced if they do get damaged in the field. But, I mean, why even have to deal with that? Just wear ABUs. They're a lot more practical, in my opinion. Flashlight, you don't need it. I don't know why that's on the list. If you like having a flashlight, go ahead, but they're going to issue you a headlamp anyway, which is the next item. They'll issue you a headlamp, so you don't have to worry about buying that. But if you want your own, like, super high-quality one, for example, bring your own, but the one they give you works perfectly fine. It is a little on the dimmer side, but you don't really use it that much anyway. Gloves, Nomex flying, don't need them, but I do recommend a good pair of just hardware gloves. You know what, let me go grab the ones that I have. I'll just do a jump cut real quick. Okay, I'm back. So these are the gloves that I bought. It's called like Hyper Tough. These are just generic work gloves. I bought them at Walmart for about $5. These gloves like these will work perfectly fine. You don't want them too thick because they'll constrict your hands from staying cool, and you don't want to have like super sweaty hands while you're in the field. So this one, for example, has a nice breathable upper mesh layer. So the top is covered, but it's like not super thick, but the palms are coated in like a rubberized type of material. This is what you want, like breathable, but also tough on the bottom. These are in the hardware section of most stores. I bought mine from Walmart, but I'm pretty sure you could get them at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever else you go. Very, very important, because there's a lot of ATC safety requirements with gloves that you'll be doing that you need to wear gloves for. If you don't have your gloves, you can't participate, and you need to participate to graduate. So just buy some gloves. Don't forget these. Next, insert gloves wool. I went in the summer, so I didn't have to take those. If you're in the wintertime, I'd imagine you would. Socks, that's a big one. I would pack extra socks. I took about, I think, 3 pairs, and I changed them out every other day in the field. I wish I brought more because it would have been nice to change them more frequently, because they do get kind of gross. The more you pack, the more comfortable you be. Just make sure they're not like taking up too much space in your backpack, or your rucksack, I mean. Cushion sole. don't have to worry about that, just standard sage green socks would work. Stocking or watch cap, I would recommend a beanie, pack like a beanie, because during the day it's super hot, but at night it does get kind of chilly. Sometimes it dropped to like the 30s for us, even though we were there in the summer. Spokane just has that kind of weather. It does get pretty cold at night, so packing a beanie will keep you warm, especially when you go to sleep. It's nice to kind of fold it down over your eyes and, you know, keep your face warm. Tags, identification metal. You don't need dog tags. I actually wouldn't recommend it because during the resistance and capture portion and things like that, it's not going to help you to have those on you. You're going to need your CAC and ID card, so make sure you pack those. You don't need a towel. This is going to take up a lot of space. It'd be nice to have a towel in the field to kind of wipe yourself off, but your space is very limited in your ruck because you pack it pretty tight. Underwear, I would pack extra underwear and shirts. Same thing, same concept with the socks. The more you have, the more comfortable you're going to be. But again, just know that it is going to take up space in your rucksack. Bathing suit, you don't need that. Tennis shoes, you'll need that for water survival if you're going to do that. But I would recommend buying water shoes. They sell them at the shop there. That way you don't ruin your tennis shoes because you'll need them after your water survival on your way home. If they're still wet, then you're not going to be able to wear those. So just buy the shoes that they have, or just buy water shoes. Padlock, you don't really need. Eyeglasses strap, you will need. I wish I brought one because if you don't have it, they make you tie like paracord to your glasses and it looks super tacky. So I wish I had brought that. Moist towelettes, yeah, wipes. I would bring baby wipes. They're just nice to have in the field to kind of give yourself a baby wipe shower to wipe down your hands before you eat. Plastic Ziploc bags, they do come in handy for rationing out your MREs. They'll give you a couple of MREs to eat in the field, and it's nice to have, basically I emptied all of mine and then I would ration it off by day, so I didn't eat all of my food all at once. And if you have a different, like gallon bags, you can ration out your different meals for the days that you'll be there. Still not going to be a lot of food, but at least that way you don't eat into your reserve food and you don't end up basically eating all your food in the beginning and have nothing left at the end. Birth control pills, talk to medical about that. I'm pretty sure that's a go if you're a female. Scarf or dicky. I brought one, not 100% necessary, but you can tie it around your face if like bugs are bothering you or something. Lip balm came in a little handy, nice little luxury to have. Toothbrush and toothpaste, I brought mine. I didn't brush that much in the field because my hands are really gross and I'm kind of OCD about that, but you do want to keep your hygiene up. Optional items now, disposable camera, they sell them in the shop there. I'd recommend taking one. In fact, I took a lot of pictures in the field. Once I get those developed, I'll do a separate video and kind of talk about some of the pictures and some of the fun stuff we did out there. But you can take a disposable camera to the field with you and take some pictures, so I'd recommend doing that. You don't need a personal survival kit. You're there to survive based on what they're going to teach you with the equipment they give you, so you don't need that. Small first aid kit would come in handy, some blister bandages, some regular bandages, gauze and things like that, because you do get a few scrapes and cuts. I got scraped up just walking around the forest, so a couple of band-aids just in case doesn't hurt. Sewing kit you won't need, fishing kit with needle nose pliers you can take. I don't know how handy it'll be. There's some people in the field that I know caught some frogs and things like that, but I don't know anyone that caught a fish, so it doesn't hurt to have, I guess, but you don't need it. Sunglasses, I would recommend. Eyeglasses in general, or eye protection, either glasses or sunglasses, please wear them because you're very prone to getting whacked in the face with branches because you walk and march in single file as you're doing like the trekking through the woods, and there's so many branches and stuff that you're pushing out the way that will hit either the people behind you or the people in front of you will hit you with as they push forward, that I'm surprised that that's not a mandatory item because you will get whacked in the face, I guarantee it, at some point by a branch. So protect your eyes, it's there for your career. Can't fly without good eyesight, so make sure you take that. That covers it for the equipment list. Now that we got most of the packing list items out of the way, I'm going to go into the mindset that I had before going into SERE, and just tell a story about like day one to the end, excluding all of the super detailed stuff. Just my general preconceptions and if they were met, and just some of my thoughts. Anyway, so I was in that boat that I think most people are with SERE, that when they hear about it, immediately everyone starts this rumor mill and this gossip and all these myths start coming out, and they're like, oh, I wonder what they do here. They like break your bones and all kinds of crazy stuff. So obviously that stuff had me mentally going in expecting and like a worse time all around. Like, I looked at the TDY orders and I was like, man, this is going to be the longest 29 days of my life. Like, I really, really do not want to do this. I'm like, is there ways around it? It's making me like hating going rated, even though I hadn't been there. I'm like, ugh, I got to go rated and deal with all like crap like this. So I already have to, you know, go my mental mindset and the frame of thought was, I just want to get this over with. So boarding that plane and kind of flying over to Spokane, the whole time I'm like, crap, what is this going to be like? Couldn't enjoy anything because my mind was just clouded with stuff. So that kind of started to change as we landed because of Spokane. So we landed in Spokane and getting off the plane, just looking around, it's a gorgeous state, Washington. And the whole town itself, you land in like the middle of these mountains and it's super pretty. And I'm like, you know, this might not be that bad, I guess. It's pretty out here. So me and my friends ended up getting Chipotle, just because near Pensacola we don't have Chipotle here. And we're like, for the next few weeks we're going to be eating DFAC food anyway. So let's get something to kind of help our morale before we start. So we ate Chipotle as the first thing we did. Speaking of which, by the way, when you land in Spokane, they don't have a shuttle service, which is unfortunate, kind of sucks. You gotta get a taxi cab to get there. They do allow taxis on base, but they don't allow Ubers. So you're gonna need to coordinate a taxi yourself to get yourselves there, and it costs about $40. So the more people you have to split that, the cheaper it'll be. They're gonna reimburse you with their travel voucher, but initially it's still kind of a good chunk of change. So keep that in mind if you don't have a car that you're gonna be renting or things like that. That traveling does get a bit expensive because you're gonna have to take cabs the whole way. What I would recommend with that, once you get there, keep in mind you're not gonna have downtime to explore the town for a while. Like, you won't get weekends off until the very end of training, like the last weekend of training. So it's not like you will have a lot of time to go downtown and things like that. But what I would recommend doing is once you get to the hotel, there's a directory with a list of Uber drivers who have base access, and I can't remember what his name is, but he's the first one on that list. He does a special for $25 to downtown, and he can split that with however many people you go. So if you get 5 people, $5 each way is not expensive to explore Spokane. So once you get situated, I would recommend doing that. So dialing it back, sorry about that. My mind always wanders in different directions, so my storytelling skills need to improve. But got Chipotle, ended up spending quite a bit of time eating and just kind of decompressing before we reported in and got our stuff. So we got there on a Sunday, and turns out when we got to the base that there was actually nowhere to report into because they don't start classes until Monday. So we got there around 5-ish, or actually maybe it was like 3, 4, closer to that time. We got there, unpacked our stuff, checked into the lobby, and what's important to know about checking in with SERE is, unlike IFT, which your stay is paid for and covered by the Air Force, with SERE, it's covered and paid for, but the initial cost, you will have to pay it yourself. As in, you'll pay the $60 a night for the 29 or 28 nights up front, and it ends up being like $1,500-$1,600 or something like that. And eventually you will get reimbursed for that when you report back and complete your travel voucher. But that initial payment has to be made through your debit card or credit card. So make sure you have the proper funds in your bank account to make that payment, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to pay the hotel, and I'm not even sure how that works, like where you'd stay if you don't have that money. So a lot of people didn't know that. I didn't know that. Luckily I had the funds, but if you're someone who's on the brink of not having that money in your bank account, then remember to pack or to have enough money and have a working debit card or credit card. I don't think they take Discover, so make sure it's a Visa or a MasterCard, something like that. Call ahead just in case to verify. So we got our bags unpacked, we all got our rooms, and another thing we were all wondering is, do you get a roommate at SERE? And the answer is maybe. So I'm pretty sure what they do is they fill all the rooms first, and then once all the rooms are filled, they start stacking, double stacking. So the rooms do have 2 beds in there, and it kind of depends on when you're going and how many people are currently going through the course. So me, I got in, didn't have a roommate initially, and I didn't have a roommate the whole time, so I guess I got lucky. There were other people who had a roommate on day 1, like they got in and they had a roommate already, and other people got roommates halfway through, and some people got a roommate at the end. So it kind of really all depends on the time frame and how many people are currently lodging at the hotel. Just be prepared to have a roommate, I guess, is the gist of what I'm trying to say with that. The room is pretty nice. No climate control crazy issues like they had at IFT. It's got one bathroom, standard hotel setup, so microwave, mini fridge. Got a flat screen TV with HDMI. I wish I brought an HDMI cord or like a Chromecast or something like that, because it would be nice to kind of hook up my laptop and watch Netflix. So if you're someone who's going and likes watching TV shows and movies and things, I would recommend packing an HDMI cable, because it's a flat screen TV and it has that input. Unlike IFT, which had like the old school cathode ray tube box type TVs. So yeah, you get room service every day. Unless you opt out, you can put that little door thing that says "Don't bother me." So that's kind of nice, and yeah, standard hotel. So it's pretty close to all of the facilities that you will be going to go do your training in, which is very nice. Classrooms to go study and do the academic portions of SERE are all a 5-minute walk at most. The different environmental labs and things that you'll do for your training are also pretty close. Worst case scenario, you'll be walking 10-15 minutes to get to wherever you need to go. So it's nice being close to all the facilities that you'll be going to. You don't need to worry about driving or getting a car. And the further, the very far away places that you go to, they'll take a bus, so you don't have to worry about transport. So we got unpacked, and I figured I'd just walk around and explore. So the base itself, very, very nice. I would probably say to date, it's my favorite base that I've been to. Very scenic. It's kind of surrounded by these hills, so it feels very secluded, and it's got a very peaceful vibe about it. Fairchild, I wouldn't mind being stationed there. It's a very pretty base. The DFAC was also pretty nice, about a 4-minute walk away from the hotel. I guess talking about the DFAC, the prices there are a little high. It's kind of weird. Some days it was high and some days it was low. So it kind of fluctuates based on the meal they're serving. But other DFACs where I spent maybe $2-3 for a whole meal, this one would sometimes be upwards of like $7, $8, $9 depending on what I was eating. So it kind of does get pricey. Unfortunately, you are paying out of pocket as far as I know. With the per diem they give you, you're not going to be getting a lot of money for food. So a lot of times it ends up being out of pocket. So just be cognizant of how much you're spending with how much you eat, because it's not like IFT where the DFAC you can pretty much all you can eat all day and take boxes of food out. It's not like that there. So I guess just count your money and watch what you're eating so you don't break the bank. And then for that day, we were pretty much just wrapped up. We got Chipotle, unpacked, got some food at the DFAC for dinner, and then we're just waiting for academics. So the next day, we reported in. Still had that sinking feeling in my stomach. I'm like, oh man, what are they gonna throw at me? Like, what are academics gonna be like? Are they gonna be screaming? And it turns out, like, academics, the whole time you're doing the academics, it's super chill. You're just learning. They're teaching you knowledge, general knowledge about the field and the field craft and the things you're gonna be doing. And that sort of started to slowly shift my mentality of SERE, going from I don't know about this to maybe I'll like it, because the modules and stuff you're learning are things like making a fire, making shelters, procuring water, basic navigation, things like that. And it kind of harkened back to TV shows that I would watch growing up, like Survivor Man and Man vs. Wild. Like, I know everybody gives that guy crap for becoming a meme, basically, with the whole drink your own urine thing, which is funny. But like, and I know that SERE is different, completely different on the spectrum of what they do. But the fact that it kind of touched on something that I liked growing up started to shift my mentality, because I was going through these academics and I'm like, the resistance training and all that other stuff might suck, but at least with the field portion, like, I'm gonna have fun, because like I like making shelters and I like learning about the outdoors. So I had a lot of fun, not a lot of fun, but like, what's the word? Academics was kind of shifting the way I viewed SERE. And then after a couple days of academics, you will break off into classrooms and you'll learn the different people that will be going to the field with you, because you'll have an auditorium full of people that get broken down into elements. And each element is given a classroom, and you learn some more one-on-one stuff with your instructor there. And it was cool because everyone else in my group were also combat systems officers. So it was nice to kind of bond with some people that I would be going through the training with here when I got back. And I don't know if they're going to continue to do it that way, like breaking down the rooms into the different AFSCs, but it was nice for me. And then in the room, when you start getting into the academic rooms after they break you up, you'll learn more one-on-one with your instructor, and they start teaching you hands-on craft, which was fun for me. You learn how to do different like knots and things like that. So if you're like a Boy Scout, you have that kind of background, you'll do really well and you'll have some fun. Speaking of academics, that's one advice that I would have, is that they teach you some knots, some basic knots that you'll be using in the field, and they give you some practice paracord to use. And I'd recommend carrying that paracord with you in your pockets, so that way if you're getting like sleepy at the academics, in the academic sessions, you can just keep your hands busy and tie knots as you listen to them teach. Because if you keep your hands busy, it's harder for you to fall asleep. And I'm not saying that the academics are boring, but they're long. Like you're looking at solid 12-hour, 14-hour days sometimes, because like between you waking up, eating, and going to academics, your day could start at like 06 and end at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock sometimes. So there are long days, and even though the material is more entertaining and exciting than dry, standard, like I guess general briefings, they're just long, so just be prepared for that. The good thing is you can take coffee and snacks and foods and things like that to drink and eat to keep you awake. So I would bring a thermos again, especially one that seals so you don't have to worry about spills, so you can keep yourself awake. After the academic portion came the field. So this is kind of where I had a little bit of a wake-up call. So when you're doing the academic sessions and you're broken into your elements, you'll have gear issue, where they'll start giving you all the items you need to take, and that consists of a ruck that you fill up with all the necessary gear. So you'll have your canteen cup, your canteens, sleeping bag, food, the navigation equipment, all the stuff you're basically going to need to take in the field, like your poncho and all that. And what was a wake-up call for me was all these items, individually speaking, they're not that heavy because you're like using them and you're packing them and you're like, okay, this isn't too bad. But then somehow when all of that compounds into your ruck and then you pick it up for the first time, at least for me, I was like, holy crap, this thing is like ridiculously heavy. I'm like, I can barely carry this thing like back to my dorm, and they're gonna expect me to walk through mountains. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But then I thought to myself, I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know. I guess everyone goes through this, so they're probably gonna give us lots of breaks in the mountains, or like give us time to catch our breath and stuff. So we'll be okay. So the next day, we pack up to head out to the field, and we load up on the bus, and they drive us out there. And we basically show up. They take accountability. We pick up our gear, and we start hiking. And that's when the realization hit me that I'm not gonna have fun out here. That all that whole mentality of me thinking about, oh, this is just gonna be like an episode of Survivor Man, like went out the window, because like 10 minutes in, I was like, holy crap, I can't do this, because I had never rucked in my life, as in the big ruck, walking up mountains and hiking and stuff like that. I've been backpacking before, and camping, but I've never been rucking, and I just wasn't prepared for it. We walked maybe like 200-300 meters initially, just to kind of get our bearings and start our land navigation stuff. And I was just telling myself, I'm like, holy crap, we did like 200-300 meters, and I'm like, I'm already like so burned, like I'm running out of breath, I'm chugging water, I'm thirsty, my back is on fire. I'm like, how am I gonna do however much longer they expect us to hike? Like, if 200 meters killed me. And then I just immediately mentally started sinking again, and I was like, I cannot make it through this. There's no way. Like, this sucks. Like, I have 7 days of this, and it's not even been an hour, and I'm already like mentally checking out. Like, how am I gonna do this? But you know, I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm out here, we're doing it, so I guess suck it up, put one foot in front of the other and keep going until you can't. So I'm like, all right, I'll try it again. And the ruck for me, like, I'm a skinny guy, I'm a small dude. The ruck for me was so heavy that it took like a good chunk of my energy just to lift that thing up and swing it around my back and strap it tight. And some of them are old, like the ruck I had was really old, so I had a really hard time cinching the straps, and my chest strap, or the one that goes across your abdomen, didn't even lock for me. So I was like basically doing this the whole time, trying to distribute the weight as I'm hiking. And that was just a ruck. So let's get into the terrain next. I don't know why, but for some reason, I was mentally expecting the mountains, like I wasn't expecting it to be clear and like super level, but I was expecting it not to be so dense. The forest that you go to, the Kaniksu, it is like, it's nothing like I imagined, because during academics briefs, you'll see pictures of forest and stuff, and it's like the generic, like nature, pretty looking forest. This forest ain't pretty. Like, it is super dense. There's fallen logs and bushes and branches everywhere. Like, you're just pushing through the forest, trying to basically get your bearing as you are dealing with the pain of carrying this ruck, as you're thirsty, as you're communicating with the rest of your people. And I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like moderately clear field of view, field of vision, things like that. But no, it's super dense. There's bugs everywhere, which is a con of summertime. I know you don't have to deal with the snow, but you have to deal with bugs, mosquitoes, bees. They're all up in your face. They're not stinging you and stuff because, if you're smart, you packed bug spray, which highly recommend getting like the super DEET spray. Like the more DEET it has, the better off you'll be. Excuse me. I had like the 97% DEET and it worked really well. So take it from me. Let's touch on that for a second real quick. Pack a lot of bug spray. I'd say 2 bottles of like the medium-sized ones. Keep them in like your ABU pockets or your ABU trouser pockets, so that way you can just spray off whenever you feel like the effectiveness is running out. Wear the gloves because you're pushing through those bushes, like I said. A lot of them are super thorny. With the ruck, you're uncoordinated and you're going up and down a lot, and because of that, you could trip and fall, and if you have gloves on, you can catch yourself. And next up, wear eye pro, because those branches can definitely hurt your, damage your retinas in your eyes super easy, because the people in front of you aren't going to always be aware of their surroundings, and if they push a branch which is really long very far, it's just physics. It's going to be a lot of like velocity coming at your face. So if you wear eyeglasses, perfect. If you don't, I'd recommend wearing sunglasses or maybe even clear polycarbonate glasses, but just protect your eyes. This is one thing, actually, let me show you. For those of you that do wear glasses, I highly recommend packing these things, which are like clip-on sunglasses. Basically, they just clip onto your eyes like this. These are the ones I actually wore at SERE. And what's nice about these is when you're walking through terrain, you'll go from like sunny areas to a forest, which is dark, to a sunny to a forest, to a sunny to a forest. Constantly transitioning between like having a lot of light to maybe not having so much. So what's nice about these is when you're in the sun, you can have these down and it'll give your eyes, it'll relax your eyes a little bit more. But if you're in the forest and you need to use your field of vision and you need more visual acuity, you can just flip these up. So, transitioning between the two environments, it's nice to have that. So this was like $8 at Walmart. Highly recommend it. And I would also recommend packing a second pair of glasses in case you break one. So anyway, let's go back to the experience. We ended up hiking for a bit. I don't want to go into exactly how long we hiked because I feel like that's going to ruin the experience. But you would be hiking a good amount. I'll just put it that way. You'll be hiking a good amount with a lot of weight on your back. And it does not get easier. So I was walking, I was hiking. We get about maybe to the halfway point and I was just done. Luckily, we stopped and it seemed like everybody was kind of defeated morally with morale. And so we all kind of, without saying anything, agreed on taking a little break. We set our rucks down and just leaned back and took a deep breath. Learned a little bit more navigation stuff, and then picked up our rucks and kept going. And that first day just seemed like an eternity. And when we sat down, when we eventually stopped to basically set up camp for the night, it was probably the happiest I've been in a long time, because I was like, you know what? You're nowhere near done, but at least you're done with today. And now you know what SERE is going to be like, at least the field portion. So I went from looking forward to the field portion, like being super excited, to holy crap, I don't want to be here again. So up and down all the time. So if you've been rucking, you'll probably like it and you'll probably be okay. And if you love the outdoors, you'll be okay. But if you've never been rucking in your life, I would highly recommend you go invest in a ruck, because, or not invest in a ruck, what I mean to say is try to get some rucking experience. If you know someone who has a ruck, pick it up, fill it with bricks or something, and then just hike around, I don't know, maybe even a track or something, just to get yourself used to how it feels. Because if you've never been through it and that's your first experience, then you're in for a wake-up call, especially if you're small like me. And then getting down to the camping itself, it's nowhere like a standard camping trip. You're basically going to be sleeping on the ground. Our instructor was cool, and luckily we got to bring our sleeping bags. So that really helped a lot with like morale and stuff. Getting to sleep in a sleeping bag, because it did get pretty cold. But I know some instructors didn't even allow that. So I knew some people who were like huddling up with piles of leaves, and that was their bed for the night. So kind of luck of the draw depending on which group you put in and who your instructor is. Just be mentally prepared, I guess is what I'm trying to get at with that. You could be sleeping on the ground with just leaves, or you could be sleeping pretty good in a sleeping bag. Give me a second, just gotta turn this TV off. So first night, I'm laying there, crawl into a sleeping bag, put my head back, and I probably fell asleep in less than 2 minutes. Like, I was that done. And woke up the next day, my shoulders were on fire, my feet were killing me. I was like, oh my god, this is just day 2, and I know we're gonna walk a lot more than we did yesterday, because yesterday we got there maybe like around noon, and today we're starting the day at 9 a.m. So let's just see how this goes. Or not even 9 a.m., it was like 7:30 a.m. So, kept trudging through, and I guess what got me going, or like what kept me going, was like, I don't even know how to phrase it. It was literally thinking about everything except what I was going through. Like, I would mentally play music in my head. I would try to remember movies that I watched and try to play movies in my head, and that helped a lot. But for the most part, you just got to find a way for you to deal with your feet being super sore and your back being on fire and you being thirsty. So whatever works for you, just know that you're going to be hiking a lot, and you're going to be dealing with pain and a lot of emotional distress, because you're going to be hungry and tired. So whatever works for you, just know you got to get through that. Items, again, sorry, I keep bouncing around, but an item that I would recommend packing that I wish I had was packing a camelback, because in the field you'll be carrying canteens, which are a few pounds each, pretty heavy. They're big, and you get 3 of them, and your instructor expects you to have all 3 of them filled at all times, whenever you can. And that's a good chunk of weight. But more so beyond that, when you need to drink water, it gets really annoying, because your ruck is on your back and your canteen's strapped in the back. So when you want to drink water, you either have to have someone from your element grab it for you so you can drink from it, or you have to put your ruck off and on just to grab a canteen to drink, which gets really tiresome, picking that ruck up and down over and over again. Or you just carry it in your hand, which limits your mobility. It increases your chance of getting hurt, because you don't have your hands to catch yourself and things like that if you fall. And also just the convenience of having a hose from a camelback to drink from, versus having to constantly reach over and grab a canteen. So I really, really wish I brought a camelback. I would recommend taking one if you can. You don't need the whole thing, just the bladder, so you can keep the bladder system in your ruck and then sip from it. But yeah, I would advise packing one of those. Speaking of the water, I would say one of the things that lifted my morale was the water. It's like mountain creek water, or puddle water, or pond water that you'll be drinking, but it's like super cold, and they give you some purification tablets to drink. But I don't know, man, maybe it's because I was super tired or whatever, but that was some of the best water I ever had in my life. So water is really good. As far as food goes, you don't really get a lot, but that's to be expected. You'll get the MREs they issue you, and you'll find some edible stuff along the way, bugs, insects, berries and stuff. So food aversions is something you might need to work toward if you do get that hungry. I myself didn't want to eat that many bugs because I was hungry, but I was like, I'm not ready to stoop to that level yet. But ate some berries and stuff that we found. Some people, like I said, they caught frogs, so kind of depends on what you get. And obviously there's a certain SERE related food that everyone kind of knows about, so you will get to experience that. I won't go into explicit detail. So the next few days, I don't want to go into, like, this video is gonna run forever if I break down each day until the end, but like it's pretty much what I repeated from day one going to the end. You're hiking a lot, you're hiking a lot, and you're in pain and you're hungry. But what helps with that is if you have a good element like I did. Everyone in my element we were all jokesters. My instructor was really cool. He shared a lot of stories. We learned a lot. If you keep your mind focused on why you're there, it'll help you get through it faster. Because if you just try to remember what they taught you in academics and just use your time there to apply what they taught you, you're less focusing on being in the moment, thinking about how much it sucks, and you're more focused on, let me apply these lessons. So my big takeaway for the field portion of training is just remind yourself that you are only going to go through this experience once. It's potentially life-saving information if you ever have to eject or bail out of an aircraft. So try to put the mental this sucks attitude aside and focus on applying what they taught you at academics, because that's why you're really there. It's not for them to put you through this haze of starving you and making you work out a lot. It's teaching you the tools to survive. And you do some fun stuff in the field, you do some stuff with the helicopter. I won't go into detail, but there's stuff with helicopter. You learn how to build a shelter, procure food and water. Pick your instructor's brains, I'll say that. All of the instructors, the SERE instructors, are amazing. They're the best at what they do, and they love to be there. So any questions you have, now is your time to basically ask a subject matter expert about anything that you want clarification on. So it's another way to keep yourselves busy and kind of combat that mental fatigue. So get to know your SERE instructors, not just the one you have assigned to your element, but all of them. They're all super cool, and most of them are pretty funny. So they'll share some stories with you about their experience going through SERE and their whole training. So if you have the opportunity to do that. Once I got done with the field, I was probably it's funny for me, I went through ROTC, so we went through field training, which is basically kind of I guess the boot camp equivalent of ROTC cadets. And I thought to myself, oh man, this is the worst thing I've ever been through. But after SERE, it made field training seem like an absolute joke. I was like, man, I could do field training 8 times before I ever want to go through the field portion of SERE again. Got back to the hotel, took a shower, and just saw face paint and dirt and mud just wash off my body, and I felt like I was being born again. So that post-SERE shower is going to be a pretty good feeling, probably one of the highlights of SERE for most people, and followed by, shortly obviously, is the post-SERE meal. So take advantage of that, make it count. I ordered Domino's, and probably was a bad idea because I had a pretty bad stomach cramp afterwards, but it's a good experience. So obviously next step is the thing that most people want to know about, which is resistance training. And I'm sorry guys, I'm not going to talk about that too much. I don't even want to talk about it at all, but I guess I'll talk about it very vaguely, in the sense that it is what you think it is. It's gonna suck. It's gonna make you uncomfortable. You are probably gonna wish you weren't there the whole time. But like the field portion, just go do it, go get it over with. And I think what's even more important to realize is practice what they teach you. That's why you're there. So if you pay attention in academics and you apply what they teach you in academics at RT, then you're going to get through it. And you're going to get through it with the minimal amount of suffering, quote unquote, that you need to. If you do what you're supposed to do, then you have nothing to worry about. And as far as the physical aspects of it, again, can't talk about it, but just know that once it starts sucking and you start hating it, like the field portion, it has an end date. So stay focused on that, stay focused on your element and helping your element out, keep each other's morale up, and help your wingmen, and you'll get through it. And before you know it, you'll be done. And man, sorry, the reason I'm tripping up on this is because I really don't want to talk about this section too much, and I'm trying to be as helpful as I can without going into that zone of like, you shouldn't talk about this. So I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's exactly that. And also remind yourself that it's training, and they're doing it for a reason. It's not to haze you. They're trying to prepare you for, if you do find yourself in a situation like that, how to conduct yourself. So now is the only time you're ever going to get to practice it, and keep that in mind, and you'll get through it. Once that's done, you'll enter the water survival portion, and that part is a great way to unwind. So hopefully you're one of those people who's comes, does it, and then does water survival at the end, because water survival was a blast. It's basically just imagine having a pool day after you've gotten through some crappy experiences. It's a nice way to decompress. And same thing with everything else with the other portions of SERE. Pick the instructor's brains, absorb as much as you can, and apply it when the time comes, and you'll be okay. But as far as the water portion goes, you don't need to worry about it. Items to pack though, do bring the water shoes. Bring up, if you don't have your own, buy it at the shop. And also, if you are not a strong swimmer, let the instructors know that, so they can give you a special identifier just to keep an eye on you in the pool, because if you're not a strong swimmer, then it could be a potentially hazardous thing, but they'll take care of it. So just make sure you identify yourself. And yeah, so I wish I could talk more in depth, but you know that I can't, because I'll conclude with saying that the less prepared for SERE you are in terms of knowing info, like in-depth info, the better, because that's what the training is designed for. It's kind of designed to catch you off guard, so you can apply the lessons learned. Like, the way you apply the lessons that they teach you in academics is to not be prepared for what they throw at you. So the less you know about it, the more beneficial it's going to be for you to go through SERE, if that makes sense. So don't be like me and go in with a bunch of preconceived notions, because everybody's experience at SERE is different. So some people might be like, oh, it was the worst time in the world, and other people might be like, oh, it was a blast. But it's all going to be dependent on how you kind of approach situations mentally. So don't go in with any preconceived notions. Take the training for what it is. It's a lot of fun in its own ways. And I guess my closing thoughts in retrospect is, I had a blast, actually. Looking back at it, yeah, I know I said it sucked a lot, but looking back at it, it's one of those things that, like, when it's done, you're like, huh, that wasn't too bad. And it's really weird to say it that way, but that's exactly how it is. And if you were to ask me, would you do it again? I would do it again, because SERE really did push me to my limits, physically and mentally a lot of times. And because of that, I feel like I can approach new situations where I thought I would be uncomfortable or I couldn't do something, and give it a shot. Because if you were to go back in time a couple of months and tell my past self, you're going to do A, B, C, and D, the things that you did at SERE, or I did at SERE, I would say there's no way I could do any of that. You're crazy. I couldn't ruck this much. I couldn't figure out how to, I don't know, craft this or that. But looking back at it, I did. And, you know, moving forward with situations where if I kind of tell myself, oh, you couldn't do this or that, those preconceived notions of me doubting myself kind of got better. Or how do I phrase it? It's I don't doubt myself as much anymore, because now I'm more willing to try things, because there's previous experiences at SERE that I thought I could never do that I did do. So now I approach situations in life with, you know, give it a shot, because you didn't know you could make it through that thing, so why not try this? So I think it definitely makes you a stronger person, and I think everybody should go through it. And it also made me appreciative of having appreciative of the little things in life. Like, straight up, I haven't said this in video before, but I guess I'll say it now. I'm not that big of a fan of Pensacola. I don't like this town that much. I find it very gloomy and very dreary. Anytime I go out, it kind of brings my mood down. But after having gone through SERE, still don't like the town, but I do tell myself, like, hey, you're complaining that you don't like this town, but at least you're sleeping on a bed. At least you have access to warm food, hot food whenever you want. and you're not sleeping on the ground, and you're not hungry and miserable rucking through the forest. So it makes me appreciate the things that I had before that I kind of took for granted. So that's another benefit. That kind of wraps it up for my thoughts and experiences on SERE. If you have any questions about it, most likely I will not answer it, because like I said, the less prepared you are going into it, the better off you will be. But if you have general vague questions, such as items to pack, how do you keep your spirits up, things like that, I'll try to answer it. But other than that, that's gonna basically be it. For those of you going, hope you have a good time. Hope you don't go in the winter, because that would suck. And if you do go in the winter, do let me know how your experience is, because I'm curious to see how that goes. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Again, sorry it's been kind of stagnant on the channel lately. I'm gonna do my best to turn that around soon. I got a lot more content that I'm trying to get out, just trying to get in between having free time to do it and thinking of ways to approach the different videos that I plan on doing. But I do have a lot more content. I'm trying to get this channel back on track with covering the journey from start to finish. So I'm looking forward to doing that with you all. So as always, thanks for watching. This one was really long, so thanks for bearing with me. Love to have a discussion with you guys. Drop a comment below. And until next time, take care.